I have Jordan Tyson, Casey Concepcion, Mekhi Lemon, Omar Cooper at 4, Carnell Tate at 5, Skylar Bell at 6, Denzel Boston at 7, Elijah Surratt at 8, Ted Hurst at 9, Malachi Fields, Stories boy at 10, Jeremy Bernard at 11, Chris Bell at 12, Zachariah Branch at 13, Deion Burks 14, and Lewis Bond at 15. Story, Carnell Tate, you love him. You're not fading on your love of Carnell Tate.
No, we talked about it ad nauseum, but I mean, he profiles as a quiet dominator, a guy who's going to win consistently. He's going to get the scheme touches. He's going to scheme. He's going to get schemed open. They're going to manufacture volume for him. He's a guy that the coaches love, that does everything right, in a high efficiency guy. Not the most jaw-dropping numbers, but he played at Ohio State with your boy Max Clare there. Strong success rate versus both man and zone. What more needs to be said about him? I think I don't know, is he the consensus one still, or has Jordan Tyson overtaken him since the pro day?
I think he still is because of the safety, and there's no real risk in his profile by most people, even though I think there is. I'll give you my comp. So I think the actual comp is Plexico Burress. Ooh. Not quite as tall, but a guy that's just a lengthy boundary receiver. The other comp is Marvin Jones, which I don't think is a terrible comp. I know people are going to be upset if you draft that in the first round, top 10. But the reason I have him at 5, Story, as you know, I had him at 7, then at 6. I slowly moved him up, is that I think there's a slight chance he becomes a Devontae Adams level player. And I am not willing to put a guy down at 7 where, the other guys I've been hating on in the past at receiver were so raw. This guy isn't raw. He's safe. He's got good hands. Where like Devontae Adams coming out had questionable hands, and he still has, early in his career had some questionable hands. But Plexico Burress is my comp for Carnell Tate. I like him. I mean, he's really good. I don't see the upside of him being an all-timer or an all-pro. And I think Jordan Tyson is a guy that if everything works out, Jordan Tyson is going to be one of the best receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, it could happen that way. I mean, he is a little undersized, right? 195 pounds is not really what we want. Devonta Smith would look good on him, but I actually comp him to Calvin Ridley, the prospect, and the guy in Atlanta, not the guy that we've seen recently in Tennessee.
Yeah, Ridley's career got, had the mental health issues, had the gambling fiasco. Like, that's really ever since then. And Calvin Ridley was an older prospect. That's what derailed Calvin Ridley, but pretty good career. And that's a good comp, and that's fine if you get that. But top 10 for that's not ideal.
I mean, potentially, seemingly.
So, Jordan Tyson, we both have. I have him at 1. You have him at 2. So I have my ceiling is a JSN level player, but he plays more like Keenan Allen. But he has the looseness in the top of his routes and the way he moves of Justin Jefferson. Like he has, I see some parts of all of their games, and those are pretty high. That's a high bar there, those guys. So what are your thoughts on Tyson? And he's moved up your board a little bit.
Yeah, so the 11.7 yards per reception in 2025, not ideal, but he's got just absolutely elite 3.44 yards per route run career versus man coverage. That is unheard of. So that's incredible. Versus zone, not as efficient. I will say in 2025, Carnell Tate had a 3.02 yards per route run, which is also pretty nice, really outstanding. So he's got Jordan Tyson 1 year at Colorado, and then the rest of the time in Arizona State. Even in 2024, only 1,100 yards. So you would like to see another couple 100 yards there, but high target share. Obviously, he's got strong per target numbers, strong share of team production. You mentioned it. He wins at all 3 levels, consistent separation, solid yak. And I just like Tate a little bit more. I think Tate is a more well-rounded player. And yeah, Tyson's not really elite versus with contested catches. And he's not the dominator for the size that I would want to see as well. But it's a really close 1-2 there.
Agreed. Mekhi Lemon for both of us. Wand of Trust. We have Mekhi Lemon at 3, which is, about a month ago, that would have been crazy on most people's boards. But I don't really know what it is. Maybe the other guy, it's mostly Tyson rising up. But my comps for him, low end is Khalil Shakir, and high end is Julian Edelman. I feel like the St. Brown comp is too easy, and he's
yeah,
not.
it's pretty sloppy, pretty lazy to just give the Amon-Ra St. Brown. 5'11", 192, so also a little undersized, but 5'11", that's not terrible. 21 years old, so he's a young prospect. Spent 3 years at USC. 1,150 receiving yards, 14.6 yards per reception, 11 receiving touchdowns, and 3.13 yards per route run. So there's a reason that these three guys are all bunched together there. Again, like Tyson, not really great with contested catches. And so and obviously at 5'11", 192, that means that the outside role is going to be a little bit limited. So he's certainly not a slot merchant, but he's going to play inside more so than most of these guys that are at the top of the draft here, except for the next guy.
What's your biggest concern on Lemon? Is it the size and he's got shorter arms? Like, is it all that kind of stuff? That big adjustment in the NFL?
It's the play strength. Can he adjust to the NFL size speed of these cornerbacks? I have a concern there.
All right, number 4, Omar Cooper. We both have him there, so we're at consensus here, and that's pretty much where he's mocked to go. Probably mid-teens, late teens. And he could be, any team could use this kid because what he does after the catch is absolutely elite. And this is the best tackle breaker and best guy after the catch I saw, besides maybe Casey Concepcion, who I have at number 2, but we're talking about him after this. But like the guy's a little bulldog, man, and also really good in the red zone. So my comps for him, Zay Flowers, but not as shifty, and he's got some Debo in his game. So it's a mix between those two guys. This guy you can use all over the field, line him up in the backfield. Versatile is the word.
Yeah, I mean, the yak is drool-worthy. The size, though, Debo is not 199. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right, no, not at all.
Debo's a bigger man. I got him to comp to Rashee Rice, right? Solid but unspectacular across most metrics except for yak there. Average separation, average depth usage. Production profile really suggests more reliability than dominance. So a guy that you can manufacture touches for, bubble screens, wheel routes, get him out in space and let him do his thing, versus a guy that you're going to throw up against the number 1 corner and let him play bully ball. That's why he's down at 4. And I think it's a big jump between the top 3 and number 4. But I still really like strong hands, strong route consistency. He's a chain mover. And I'm excited to see in the right system what he can do.
All right, Casey Concepcion is your 5. He is my number 2 story. So why do you hate KC so much?
He's got a very limited route tree. That is my biggest concern with him. I don't know that he can play the full 9 routes that you need to be able to play in the NFL in order to succeed. Strengths, yak, versatility, playmaking, obvious, but he profiles more of an offensive chess piece, a guy you're going to move around and try to create mismatches, but he's not a full-time player. He feels like a 70%, maybe 65% snap share, 70% snap share kind of guy. That's why I've got him comped to a Jaden Reed, who had a very similar yards per route run, 2.21, very average.
That's rough. That's a rough one. But he did line up all over the field, so he's been used in a bunch of creative ways. It's just he has some work to do, like you said, in the route tree stuff. My comps for him, my high end comp, Odell Beckham Jr. Same size, not quite the high end speed. Odell ran a 4.43. He didn't test, but I'm guessing he would have been a 4.45 guy. Now the downside, where this can go wrong, is Kadarius Toney, that level of player. But I think that the medium comp would be Doug Baldwin, that type of player, because he had a lot of drops, concentration issues there in college. But I feel like his hands are better than what the drop numbers say, and he could turn into a very reliable target. But this guy, outside of Omar Cooper, who's more of a tackle breaker, this is the best guy in terms of eating up space, making plays with the ball in his hands. Guy was amazing as a freshman. I love Concepcion. One of the highest upside shots. I think maybe the highest, even maybe higher than Tyson. Tyson's definitely more of a pro-ready player. This guy has it all in my book. I know we disagree on that one, but I love him.
Yeah, I think there's too many red flags in his profile for me to say that he's a surefire bet at the next level. But I do agree he's got the upside.
All right, number 6. I have number 6. You have number 8, Skylar Bell. Consensus is like wide receiver 14 or wide receiver 15 story. So this is our guy. We're planting our flag on Skylar Bell. I love him. Is he one of the most pro-ready receivers in this draft, although he went to a small school?
I mean, he went to a small school for 2 years, but don't forget he started his career at Wisconsin, somewhat unspectacularly, but 1,278 receiving yards last year. Had a 17.2 yards per reception in 2024. So you love the efficiency. 13 receiving touchdowns last year. And again, a really, really great 3.13 yards per route run. 4.440. Incremental production growth tied with more opportunity. We saw the efficiency spike. It did dip last year. He looks like a surefire bet to get on the field as a Z wide receiver. You know, I'd like to see him put on 10 pounds. He's a little undersized, but he's going to need volume to be fantasy relevant. But I see a lot of red flags with the guys behind him. That's why he's at 8 for me. I got him to comp to Chris Olave.
Ooh, that's really nice. I have mine's a little lower. Part of it is I have Jordan Addison mixed with Stephon Diggs. That level player, that Jordan Addison is that perfect definition of a Z receiver, and Steph Diggs is a guy that can play all over the field. And I do believe Skylar Bell can play all over the field. Not a true X receiver, but if you need him to in a pinch, he can play that. He can play in the slot. Just a versatile guy that I love his motor. The yak stuff isn't great with him, but he is as sure-handed as they come. I know I saw a lot of people saying he has drop issues and hands questions. I didn't see that at all in film. I saw a guy that just a vacuum cleaner.
He certainly. I'm not sure who was saying he's got drop issues. I don't know how many drops.
Some of the scouting reports I read, that's what I saw. Like I was like, "What are you talking?" They didn't say drop. It said questionable hands. Like I like the way he catches the ball, natural hands catcher. Like that's the least of my concerns with him.
Yeah, interesting. I hadn't seen that yet.
All right, we are moving on to your number 6, Chris Bell, who I have as 12. This is a guy I love, but the injury is an issue, and maybe I'm punishing some of these guys because the year one production. Now, there's some reports that he might be ready for camp or week 1. I don't think that's happening. My comp for him, though, this is Rashee Rice.
This is Juju Smith-Schuster for me. So,
okay,
very, very similar size, 6'2", 222. He's a young prospect, even though he's been in college for 4 years. It was all at Louisville, 21 years old. Yeah, you did mention the injury is a little bit of a concern. He also under 1,000 yards this past year, but 17.4 yards per reception in 2024. A pretty good, but if unspectacular, yards per route run at 2.55. Good combine. I mean, he's a downfield-oriented production guy. I see him getting on the field on 2 wide receiver sets on some team based on the size, based on the production we saw over his career at Louisville. Lower separation rates versus man, so you're going to need to get him in the right spots. You know, positioning is going to be important. Got good catch radius. Going to be a little bit big play dependent. Overall, though, I think he can translate for fantasy pretty well. It wouldn't surprise me to see him post up numbers similar to like a T. Higgins.
Yeah, man. What's weird that I give him the Rashee Rice comp. If you remember at SMU, Rashee Rice was strictly used as an X receiver, and then he gets into KC, they're like, you're a slot guy. Bell has only been used as a slot receiver, and I feel like he's a guy that could come in and play X in the NFL. But, dude, you mentioned 17 yards per catch, and that's on pretty short ADOT, so it's all yak stuff and super raw. But with the ball in his hand, I think him and Jeremy Bernard are the 2 guys that, and Omar Cooper, are like just bigger, stronger than everyone else. And I think that it's going to play in the NFL. They just got to find a right spot. Someone that's going to understand how to use this kid. And then obviously the injury, how does he come back? Might not get much as a rookie from him, but you know what? It's a long career for most of these guys.
Long career, and it will be interesting to see. You're right. He played slot for the most part at Louisville, but I see him. He profiles to me as a boundary X guy. I really think he can play outside.
It's funny. It's the exact opposite of Rashee Rice, who only played outside, and he's only played inside because Rashee Rice cannot beat man coverage. This guy can beat man coverage, but he's actually been really good against zone. So I do like him. I should have him higher. It's just I like the other guys. I feel like he's a riskier prospect than the other guys I have ahead of him. So Denzel Boston's a guy you're lower on than I am. I am at 7, mostly because I think he could go in the first round. So the opportunity is going to be there. And safe and steady dude. I have Cortland Sutton as my comp. So just a guy that's going to be out there running X receiver routes, eating up space, taking on double teams. I do like his red zone stuff. So he's a monster in the red zone. That is 1+ for him. Everything else is pretty blah.
That's actually kind of a negative for me. Like his age-adjusted efficiency or age-adjusted production is not ideal when you consider that it's skewed towards touchdowns rather than volume. So also an unspectacular 4.60 40 there. He's going to need high value targets. Yeah, end zone, deep shots. Like, I worry that he's going to come in. He's going to be this year's Isaac Tesla. Now, obviously, Tesla was a, correct me if I'm wrong, third round pick for Detroit last year. So he won't go in the third round. I'm just worried that he's going to come in situational packages, and he's just not going to get the volume that we need to see from a fantasy viable wide receiver. Red zone, he's like a red zone X guy for me.
Yeah, I feel like a great spot for him would be the Bills. They need a guy that would be a nice pairing with Josh Allen, and like that can make it work. If he has an aggressive, strong arm quarterback, this will work. If he has a guy that just if it's CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, something like that, like good luck, because he's not going to win on those routes.
Right. That's the problem too. This is, I mean, a lot of these guys are landing spot dependent, but yeah, I mean, it would be horrendous for fantasy to see him land in Buffalo for his fantasy value.
Correct. At number 7, you have Antonio Williams, a guy that I just think is just he's a pro. He's a very steady guy. I don't see a lot of upside there, but I think maybe you're referring to the floor he has. And he is a guy that can move all around the field. He's probably best in the slot. Pretty steady player, though.
Yeah, he'll be, for the most part, a slot guy. It's going to take some time for him to adjust to the NFL, although he did have a 4.41 40. Early career breakout. I really like the age-adjusted production here. Strong underlying talent. Metrics have been strong his entire career. They remain strong despite the level of competition. He's really good versus zone. He had some injury issues, right? So they kind of created some incomplete profiles. We don't have all the analytics that we would like. But if healthy profiles is a really strong separator, a really great slot guy, he's kind of a I got him Khalil Shakir.
I have Jaden Reed. So pretty similar type player there. And that's a guy that's going to offer a pretty high floor. And if you need if you have a thin wider, like I feel like a good spot for him to be Miami, a guy just to eat up some targets and some routes.
A high floor PPR asset, right? Like a slot Z separator.
All right. My number 8, Elijah Surratt. You have him down at 11, which is right about at consensus. So you don't hate him. I just think this guy is similar to your Antonio Williams take. This guy is day one contributor, battle tested, played in big games, all those things, and probably the best hands, at least strongest hands in this class. And I have him comped to Jacoby Myers and Michael Wilson. Jacoby Myers was a converted quarterback, I believe, and it took a couple years to get going in the NFL. But once he got his footing, Jacoby Myers has been tried and true. And then Michael Wilson is the physical comp to this guy. Very strong player.
He's unspectacular to me. He's very good at what he does. Strong production across all 3 levels, right? St. Francis, then James Madison, then Indiana, 2 years there. But the production is less than ideal, 830 receiving yards. He did have 15 receiving touchdowns. So, I mean, they threw the ball a lot in the red zone at Indiana, but that's an impressive number. Limited explosiveness. The 2.18 yards per route run is below average. It's just he profiles as like a volume-dependent possession receiver. If you take out that 1 year where Cortland Sutton had a million touchdowns, he profiles to me as a Cortland Sutton.
What I like about him, though, is quarterback dependent, but he could be a quarterback's best friend. If he gets the trust of a above average quarterback, let's say it's a Baker Mayfield, something like that, like he's a guy you can, the separation doesn't matter as much because he's going to catch everything thrown his way. And like that plays in the NFL. And I think that he could profile as a sneaky big slot receiver. He didn't play a lot of slot in college because of Omar Cooper, but he pretty much played outside the entire time. But this guy could move into the slot and be a fucking demon in the slot.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, he's more of a volume dependent X for me, but he's another red zone threat. Remember that year that Cortland Sutton had all those touchdowns? If he gets the eye of some quarterback, right? Can he not have a double-digit touchdown season?
100%. The red zone stuff's for real, and that matters, especially for fantasy. But teams are going to value that. Number 9 for me. So you have Skylar Bell at 8. We both had talked about Skylar Bell. Number 9 for me is Ted Hurst. You have him at 12. We're both higher on Ted Hurst. He's about 15 consensus. So we love this kid. I'm curious to hear your comps for Ted Hurst because this is an interesting one.
Zay Flowers.
What? Zay Flowers is 5'11".
Yeah, it's not a size thing. It's you go back and look at their production profile from colleges, and it's almost identical. It's crazy, almost identical. Yards per route run, yards per reception, number of receiving yards, etc. It's absolutely crazy how close these guys are.
So mine is when he has the ball in his hands, especially in these crossing patterns, reminds me of Jameson Williams. He also has the same length, a little taller than Jameson Williams, not as fast because Jameson Williams is a fucking gazelle, but 4.42, which is really elite for a 6'4" frame. And then George Pickens in terms of the contested catch stuff. This dude, now the downside is the competition he was playing, like a lot easier to moss guys when you're facing bums. But I think he high points the ball really well. Really good at deep ball tracking, and Ted Hurst can kind of do it all. And I think that this is a guy that's going to be a surprise high pick in the NFL draft. Like, I think he can go as early as the mid-second, late second. Would that surprise you?
That would surprise me. Yeah, I would be surprised if he went in the second round. He seems like a round 3 pick to me. But that's the other thing too. This is the classic production versus competition evaluation case, right? He played 2 years at Valdosta State before transferring to Georgia State. And even though Zay Flowers spent all 4 years at Boston College, both of their productions dipped versus higher level defenses. So that makes the question mark like, okay, now we're talking about the best of the best when you come to the NFL. Can you really make that leap? But strong target share, strong market share, a little weaker on the yards per route run than I would have liked. But he was dominant versus weaker competition, so you can't ask much more from that. I would like to see. I like your Jameson Williams comp. I don't know how much Jameson Williams weighs. I think he's a little lighter than Ted Hurst. Is he not?
Yeah, Jameson Williams is like 190.
Yo, then he's significantly lighter. This guy's 206.
Right. So not quite as fast either, but like Jameson Williams' hands are bad, dude. They're really bad. Even in his good years he's dropping passes. He's turning the wrong way. He has similar problems as Xavier Worthy, but Xavier Worthy is like absolute zero when it comes to those things. And he's a bigger frame than Worthy. But dude, I just love Ted Hurst. And I feel like some teams are going to get enamored with what we're talking about. And I think I'm calling second round. I'm calling late second round for this kid. Let's go to my number 10, and you're going to hate this one. It's Malachi Fields.
Yeah, I do hate that one.
Do you have a comp for Malachi Fields, or he's not even on your board?
I don't. He's not even on my thought processes.
I have Kenny Galladay and Brandon Marshall. What do you think about that?
Brandon Marshall seems aggressive. Kenny Galladay, though, that one, I could see that. Although, the Kenny Galladay went to a different program type than Malachi Fields did.
Yeah, I'm just looking at body type and just watching the film, and Malachi Fields plays faster than his 40. I love his feet on comeback routes. Probably the most competitive player in terms of when the ball's in the air in this class. Even more so than Denzel Boston, if you ask me. And that's going to play. He has a specific role and a spot in the NFL. A team's going to love the physical presence he brings. Great in the run game, dude. And the NFL is going to more, they're running the ball way more than they had 5-6 years ago. So 3rd round pick, maybe early 4th round pick. There's going to be a team out there, a couple teams that don't really care about the metrics as much. And it was similar to Emmett Johnson, not the best combine and not the most production in college either. I'm just going on the mold here of Malachi Fields, the guy he's a grown man story. And, if the Steelers didn't have all these giant receivers, he'd be a perfect Pittsburgh Steeler. But, the Bears might be a sneaky spot for him. They need another X receiver. And I would love that with Caleb Williams. So how far off of your 15 was he? Was he number 16? Was he number 20? Do you not go that low?
I haven't gone that low yet.
Son of a bitch.
You're comparing him to Kelly. Galladay was like hugely dominant at NIU, right? Like
at NIU though.
Yeah, true. But Malachi Fields, like he can't separate versus top corners. He doesn't have explosiveness. He for me, he looks like a wide receiver one, but he doesn't play like one. And the production certainly doesn't match that. He's the archetype of what we want to see, but he becomes more of a role player in the league. So for me, I think the market is betting on body type rather than actual measurables and production.
Exactly. And so am I. And I'm gonna go to war with that one. Number 11, Jeremy Bernard. You're number 10, so right around consensus here. This guy's one of the safest picks in the draft, right?
Yeah, I think so. Unspectacular production last year, despite the fact that Alabama should have been throwing the ball a lot more. Combine 4.48, that's okay. Yeah, the big problem is some of the efficiency. 13.5 yards per reception, 1.70 yards per route run is just that's gross. But he was he was more of a rotational guy than I thought I think people thought he was going to be last year. He's not been able to command top target share, but he is a good route runner, smooth movement. He's a rotational Z. Like, he's very pro ready in that regard, but he's not a true separator, not a guy who's going to be your number one for your team.
Do you have a comp for him?
Jarvis Landry.
Ooh, wow. I have Romeo Dubs.
Okay.
A little better with the ball in his hands than Dubs, but similar type player there. So we are on to a guy that I don't have on my list, but you do. It's Chris Brazzell. Didn't even sniff my list, even though that's sacrilege because he's probably going to be a second-round pick in the NFL draft. But do I have a comp? Oh, my comp for Chris Brazzell is Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Are we all the way down to 13? Yeah, I guess we did cover all these other guys, right? Yeah.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Okay. 6'4", 198. What was Valdez-Scantling coming out?
6'5", maybe 6'4". He's a big boy. He's a really tall guy.
Yeah. 9 receiving touchdowns, 16.4 yards per reception. That's very good. Again, the yards per route run, it's one of the key metrics I look at, 1.86. But the 40 time, 4.37. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Some team's going to fall in love with his speed. They're going to get him on the field early.
And at 6'5", 6'4", like that speed, like he's not a super skinny guy either. He's not Bryce Lance. Like he's a bigger body dude. Did you notice some of his very questionable body language he had on the field if he wasn't targeted, inability or unwillingness to block in the run game? There's a lot of smoke around his character issues off the field. So like a lot of red flags as well as the Tennessee thing. So like all those things, he's done. He's off my board. If the Bears take him in the second round, I'm going to renounce my Bears fandom, and that's a realistic possibility story. I would hate that. I would take this kid in the fourth round just because he does have more upside than a lot of the guys I have on my list if it pans out. But these kind of players never pan out, dude.
No, it's a deep shot guy, right? Extreme average depth of target. Production is heavily tied to deep targets. So who's got that available to them? Like, what team can realistically use that? I think he's on my list because the efficiency does work really well, I think. And I think some team is going to I don't know where he's at being ranked right now, but
5 on Draft Buzz, 5.
Oh, well, that's way too high. And I'm not a fan of this guy. I just think there is some possibility that he can become a role player like a deep threat specialist in the NFL.
And he's going to have the draft capital. Like lowest he goes is probably mid-third, right? Just based on the size speed stuff. And that's the what could bite us in the butt, ranking him this low. But like, I would bet my hard-earned money that he's a bust in the NFL because he's going to go too high. And like I said, there's so many red flags, and all you really have is, yes, the production's okay, but it was also a very, very talk about limited route trees, like versatility 0. He literally plays not only X, it's Tennessee's X, which is not a typical, not ready for the NFL. And there's nothing to his game besides being big and fast. And I guess he's decent at the deep stuff. Like he has decent adjustment on the ball. It's fine. I hate this kid. So Zachariah Branch is my 13. He made your list, Story. You see he got arrested.
That's why he made my list. Because he stood up to some ego cop in Athens, Georgia. I'm like, I'm moving this kid up 2 spots. I love the fact that he stood up for himself.
Good. Now, as you know, I had him at borderline top 10, and there are just a lot of concerns with, he's bubble boy, man. And he just runs bubble screens and love him he's a great gadget player. I think that he is capable of doing the rest. I really, truly do. It's just not going to be in his rookie year. So where's my comps here? Maybe I didn't do one. Tyreek Hill is my comp.
Xavier Worthy.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Xavier Worthy. I have comp. Mine's Rondale Moore is his low end comp,
Yeah,
and his
well,
high end comp.
both similar body types, right? Short guy.
High end comp is Percy Harvin.
Yeah. The listen, he's on my list. I was joking about moving him up because of the arrest. You don't have any concerns about the arrest, do you? It from what it sounds like,
misdemeanor.
Just sounds like some cop was just like trying to whatever, and he told him to move, and he sparked. It doesn't matter. I don't think it's going to affect his draft stock whatsoever. The big concern, obviously, is the yards per route run against man coverage is abysmal. 40 times great, but the usage is very untraditional or in-traditional, whatever it is. Virtually nothing downfield. I worry about his projection at the next level, but I do like the manufactured touches, the special team value, the outlier profile. It could be a good thing. So he has risen up. I hated him early in the process, and I'm starting to come around on that because of his open field ability, his explosiveness, etc.
He's a tank too. This dude is built. Like he is built. Bench press, strength. If he can unlock the other parts of his game,
for 177 pounds,
dude, he almost plays like Omar Cooper. That type of strength, and he's 25 pounds less. So the raw tools he has to work with is, it's top 5 in this class. Honestly, it's just we haven't seen it. We haven't seen any versatility, and whether that's he's incapable of doing it, and that's why the coaches didn't have him do it, or is it because the coaches are idiots? And you also saw him not use Oscar Delp in the receiving game either. So I have a lot of questions with Georgia's coaching staff, and the last couple of years have not gone well there. And there's a chance that they just whiffed on this kid, and USC misused him as well. There's a chance that happens, and he actually is the full package.
That's more a likely the competition around him than it was USC misusing him.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And he just wanted to get out of there. So I'm glad you had him on your list, though, because he the upside there, it's similar to Chris Brazzell. I have no issues. I know he just did get arrested. I don't have any issues. Like he's not a lazy player. He's willing to block if asked to do that. He'll do whatever the team needs. That's why I have the Percy Harvin comp, because if a team uses him properly, it's going to be what we saw from Rondale Moore early in his career. It didn't work. Rondale Moore, though, would have had a good career. It was the injuries. The injuries derailed him, and rip Rondale Moore, who's not with us anymore.
Yeah, Rondale Moore, obviously RIP, worked really well at Purdue. He stayed incredibly healthy there. It's just one of those, like, okay, did he really belong in the NFL? I mean, yes, he belonged in the NFL. I don't want to take anything away, speak ill of the dead, but like that size, that profile, like it's very hard to translate. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's why I kind of worry about Zachariah Branch too. Like you're a behind the line of scrimmage guy. His average depth of target was insanely low. Like what does that mean for the next level? It's not like NFL teams run consistent bubble screens, right?
Well, Tyreek Hill had not this much of a bubble boy, issue going on in college, but Tyreek Hill was not doing any of the things we saw in the NFL in college. He was a fucking punt returner, man. So, like, this guy does comp to that level of athleticism, right? Maybe not Tyreek Hill level, but like 90% of Tyreek Hill.
You should get the clip from Seinfeld with the bubble boy for when we talk about Zachariah Branch.
Yeah, right. Or just, there's a lot of bubble boys in this, because Deion Burks is not quite the bubble boy Zachariah Branch is, but similar. And Deion Burks, I don't know, I have the numbers in front of me. Crazy bench press. Dude plays really, really strong. And I do like Deion Burks. He's more polished than Zachariah Branch. Maybe not quite the yak guy, but every bit is fast. And you don't have Deion Burks on your list, but do you see a chance he pops off and just becomes a thing? Because he is one of these super fast guys. You had Brandon Thompson on your love list.
I'm trying not to hold the production against him because Oklahoma's defense was very good the last 2 years, but 620 yards receiving in a full season last year, that leaves a lot to be desired. 4 touchdowns. Now, John Mateer did deal with some injuries last year, so we have to take that into account. But the efficiency is very poor there, 10.9 yards per reception. I worry about him a little bit, 5'9", 188, so he's undersized. 5 years in the league or in college. I'm not sure that there is much for him.
The speed, it's the Brennan Thompson thing. Like, he's going to get drafted based on that speed. It's going to happen. It's going to get drafted, I think, in the 4th round. So This whole stretch, man, of like 6 through 15, maybe not so much on our list, but that stretch is really strong at wide receiver this year. It's similar to the running back class last year, right? Where after you got the high end guys, there were just so many guys. You had a guy like Kyle Monunga going in the 7th round, like so much depth at wide receiver this year. Let's go to your number 14, Bryce Lance, the guy you've been talking about for a while. I have a hard time evaluating what I'm seeing, and it's not even so much the college he plays at. He's so fucking raw, but he just torches dudes. So I had a question mark for my comp, and I think the lazy thing to settle on is Christian Watson because the same school. Sure. Christian Watson's a little thicker than him, but I didn't really have a comp for him. I'm not going to give one just because he's a unicorn, man, and this can go. I could see him being out of the league in 2 years, or I could see him being a literally Christian Watson level producer, which is just a big play threat, and a guy that actually is pretty good red zone chops.
Yeah, actually, I went with Adonai Mitchell. Very similar play styles, very similar size. There's a lot of unknowns with this guy. The level of competition is less than ideal, although North Dakota State has pumped out a number of NFL players. The combine testing, the testing, 4.34 40, right? The 21.2 yards per reception is insane. Just an unreal 3.8 yards per route run. Like, you do not see that in today's college football. I don't know what to think of him, but I'm planting my flag. I'm planting my flag on the archetype, on the production, on the athleticism. This small school creates a wider range of outcomes for me, but I like his physicality. I like his blocking. I like his reliability. I worry about the upside. He could flame out in after his rookie contract. You're right, but he could be a really solid complementary piece going forward.
Pedigree too. I know Trey Lance was a bust in the NFL, but he was a top 2 pick, and he's got that, those genes, and it shows in the field, man. Like, regardless of what school he played on, and in the testing metrics show that too. It's not just that he was burning a guy that was a gym teacher. Like, he was burning a gym teacher, but instead of burning him by 7 yards in college, he'll burn a guy by 3 yards, which is all you need in the NFL. He'll have better quarterback play as well. All right, we are down to the last guy here, Story, and this is Lewis Bond. It's my guy. I talked him up in the Deep Gem show. We did a pretty deep dive on him there. My comps for him, low-end comp, and this is crazy to say low-end comp of a guy that's going to be a 5th-round pick at the earliest, is Tyler Boyd for him, a smaller Tyler Boyd. Yeah. And then, you know what? I threw in Cooper Kupp, man. I threw in Cooper Kupp for a comp because this dude just gets open. He is super tough. He is super savvy. He doesn't separate, he's almost like a poor man's Jordan Tyson or Mekhi Lemon when I see his film. That there's not a big difference. And you know what? Boston College, as bad as they are as a program, that's where Zay Flowers went. You know what I mean? Like, they can produce some talent, and this guy just is a good football player. He's ready to play.
Well, I would have liked to see the 1,000 yards last year. I would have liked to see more production, especially in the touchdowns last year. That would have been nice, or a higher average depth of target, higher yards per route run, higher yards per reception, etc. But he's a guy that I think you can take a stab on, especially in rookie drafts, and see if he develops into something. I don't dislike him at all.
Nobody knows about this kid either, so this is you can get him with their last pick.
Yeah. He's from Chicago.
I do know that. Love this kid, man. This is my. You're planting your flag on Bryce Lance. I'm planting on Lewis Bond, and you're throwing around the Cooper Kupp, which I think we all know Cooper Kupp wouldn't have been Cooper Kupp if it wasn't for Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. Had he gone to the Browns, like, what would have Cooper Kupp's career been? Probably nothing. You know what I mean? Like, it's so situational with these guys. And, Cooper Kupp, didn't he run a 4.6 40, 4.62 or something?
It wasn't
super
fast.
Slow. Yeah. He's the definition of a white guy out there. And Lewis Bond is black. So he's got that going for him. I'm just saying, like, he's a black. I call it, okay, Lewis Bond is the black Cooper Kupp. Can we settle on that?
Well, it's okay. Or he's the shorter Tyler Boyd, because there's probably like 4 inches between those guys.
Yeah, something
I don't want to go to a party with a bunch of losers from high school. But, dude, this is Brittany Kaiser's house, and I really, really want to fuck her. Dr. Kaiser. Coop and Reamer. We graduated with Brittany.
You graduated?
Of course we graduated, cock beer.
Hey-oh, shout out to basketball.
These guys are geniuses.
Geniuses. Of course we graduated, cock beer. I say that to people all the time at parties. No one gets it. I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with you? So whenever you offer someone a beer, just call them a cock first and just cock beer. All right, so there's the list, guys.